Welcome back to the podcast. I am so excited to have another guest episode today with a fellow manifestor. So, you guys, welcome on Rebe Goebel to the show. And like I said, I'm so excited you're here to talk about what you do and life as a manifestor as well, because I don't think that gets talked about enough. So, we already know you're a manifestor. I spilled the beans there, but what are your like big three and anything else human design you think is notable to share?
Yeah, absolutely. So I am a Cancer Sun, Pisces Moon, Aries rising. So I like to say I feel all the emotions very strongly. So yeah, emotions are kind of my superpower. Paired with that, I am an emotional authority in human design. So I'm a 1-3 profile. Give me all the information, give me like all the tools. I'm just a magpie for information and synthesizing that into just something new that has never been done before, never quite been put together in that particular way before. So yeah, leaning into my my birth chart and my human design has really been transformative in my own life, in my healing, and where I am today. So,
Oh my gosh. And I want to talk all the things about that today. I love the 1-3 profile. Both of my kids are that. So it's very much like trial and error. Like, you're not going to tell me what to do. I am going to, for less of better words, fuck around and find out.
uh, without a doubt, like I can't even tell you how many conversations I've been having over the last couple of weeks where people are like, feeling really stuck by doing something in like a really prescriptive way. And I'm like, play, make it your own.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, that's just so natural to like, okay, how can I make this simpler? How can I make this fit into my life better? How can I still get the benefits of this self-care practice, but really make it work? And that really drives the work that I do in my own life and with my clients. And people just, I don't know if it's a manifestor thing or what, but I'm like, just make it your own. And people are so stuck in allowing themselves to be stressed out by a tool that is supposed to help them reduce stress.
It doesn't
Right?
make sense, but it does. Yes, yes, I totally agree. I feel like I was that a little bit before learning about my energy type and all of that. It's almost like we're all conditioned that way. Like, if we're not doing XYZ, like this person said this is what worked for them.
It's color within the lines, right? Like
Yep.
don't go outside the lines. And I think that works for a lot of people. People find comfort in boundaries, and I understand that. But when they allow themselves to be stuck and restricted instead of held and comforted, by those boundaries, like I get it. Like tell me where my lane is, and there's comfort in doing that. But if that doesn't work for me, I'm gonna, like you said, fuck around and find out. I am gonna absolutely experiment and play and make it my own. And if I could, I was just thinking today, like I need to make a reel or a TikTok or something with just like giving my manifestor permission to the world to experiment wherever you find something that's not working for you in your life. Like,
When you're feeling that anger rise up.
yeah, mess around and make it your own. Yeah.
I love that. That's good advice for everyone in general, I think.
Fair. Yeah, I need to take that my own advice sometimes.
I feel the same way. I'm like, practice what I preach, sister.
Hmm.
I would love for you to talk a little bit what you find, what you would find, or what the audience, I guess, would find helpful for like the journey of, how far back you want to go or whatever. Just kind of how you got here into this place, and you've got a beautiful coaching space now, and yeah, how
Yeah.
that journey unfolded for you.
Whew. Yeah. So high level coming out of this is going to sound kind of like random, but it like circles back in. You know how like those pieces of your past are like that was like felt like a side quest or didn't really make sense, and then 25 years later, it's like, no, all of these things were the universe stitching it, stitching these experiences together so that I could be where I am today. So out of college, I was actually in the military. So I was an Air Force officer and did contracts negotiation and was lucky because the military was not the right place for me. I was not best suited for that level of standards given my manifestorness, right?
Yeah.
And so at the end of my 4 years of service, it was a career field that very easily translated into the corporate world. So it's procurement for anyone who's been in any sort of a large corporation. So transitioned into working with some of the largest companies here in the States and continued to do negotiations and manage contracts. And throughout that time, started my family. And we came to the point where we realized that my oldest had some special needs and that he was going to need some support, both through his daycare and through the school system as he was getting into kindergarten and going into first grade. We were living in like the Chicagoland area at the time, and our first experience trying to get special education for my son was a absolute shit show. It was the principal had lied directly to my face, was trying to deny even an evaluation. That could be a whole like 2-hour conversation of in general. Suffice it to say, I walked into that school just expecting things to go smoothly because I had the understanding that they were going to provide these services to help my son thrive in the classroom. And I had to fight really, really hard for it. And I had to pull all of my professional skills really into that situation and I wasn't expecting it that first meeting. That really went sideways. And I realized over the course of that process where I had to pull out my leadership skills and communication skills and negotiation skills, just how privileged I was in that fight and how I had all of these specialized skills so that when the school district threatened us with bringing their lawyer to a meeting, I worked with lawyers every day. I was like, okay, bring them. That didn't intimidate me, even though it was obviously meant to be an intimidation tactic. And I was like, cool, like so. But I realized that I was unique in that situation and the skills that my husband brought to the table as well, along with every kind of privilege you could imagine, right? I'm white, I'm middle class. I had a job that I could take time off from to go to the school and fight all this. I spoke English, all of these things, right? And so all I could think about was what happens for those other babies who need support just as much as my son does, but whose parents don't have all of this going for them. So I started getting really involved in some parent groups. And shortly after this, we moved from Chicago to St. Louis. Now, getting services here in St. Louis is a whole different ball of wax because St. Louis County is unique. There's only like 2 other places in the whole country that has special education services set up the way that we do here in St. Louis County. Are you in the county, Kayleen? Are you outside of
I'm in
St. Louis
Iowa.
County? Right.
Yeah.
Okay. For some reason, I thought
yes,
you were
very
more
outside.
local. Yes, you're very outside of St. Louis. So again, a very, very high level, St. Louis is interesting because our school districts don't provide our special education. They have raised that to a county level service. So there's an umbrella special school district that supports 22 districts that exist within St. Louis County. So it's good and it's bad, right? Because it means that, anyways, that's, again, I could talk a lot about special education. Obviously, that's my passion. Suffice it to say, I ended up getting involved I had quit my corporate job when we moved to St. Louis. And during this time, my second child, my youngest, we realized that he had special needs as well and was going to need some services. So this kind of became my passion and vocation and supporting other families just like mine. And through this time, I started my kind of spiritual and healing journey as well, because If you've never had a child with special needs, I don't know that I can adequately explain the experience to somebody, just how heartbreaking and trying that can be as a parent, and challenging. Many parent caregivers end up with PTSD from dealing with their children. And I was very much in that camp. And I had just wrestled my son into his car seat in the Target parking lot. And I was like standing there, like about to have my own tantrum because his dysregulation was making me so dysregulated. And I just remember standing there and like all I could think, I was just like almost hyperventilating, trying to calm myself down. And I thought, well, God, I guess I'd need meditation or something. And at the time, this was 10 years ago, it was like, well, you need $10,000 to take this transcendental meditation course. And it's going to take 6 months, and you must commit an hour every morning to chant your mantra in total silence. And I was like, fuck you say. Like, that's not my life, right? Like, I don't know if my kids are going to wake. Well, and even if I had planned to wake up at 5 a.m., my kids could wake up at 4:30 and be ready to go.
Exactly.
Right? Like, you've got little ones, you just cannot plan that. And I was like, that does not work. One, I don't have the money. And two, I don't have the time. And three, I need a solution right now because my family was in crisis right then. So that kind of started my whole spiritual journey. Again, this could take forever, trying to stay very, very high level. I ended up getting really, really involved in the within the special education community. This umbrella organization supports almost 23,000 students in the county who receive special education services. And I ended up as the president for this parent advisory council. So this parent group that represented all of those families. And then the pandemic happened and schools were shutting down, and I didn't even know what education was going to look like on the backside of that. Nobody did, right? Your kids were, I guess you didn't have your kids at the time.
I didn't have them yet. Nope.
Yeah. But mine were in 6th grade and 3rd grade. And it was hard to have them home and not receiving services. And during this time, I had actually started writing a book because I'm a writer at heart. And it was about teaching these negotiation, leadership, and communication skills to other parents. But not knowing what what education was going to look like on the backside. And it was just too much to live it 24/7 with my children home and not going to school and all of the stuff. So I just had to close the file and walk away. So during the pandemic, I was like, okay, well, I love entrepreneurship. I want to do something that's fun, that's totally fun. So I started a crystal shop and had an online crystal shop. And through that time when everything went online and we were doing Zoom, social gatherings for the first time, got introduced to and really kickstarted my healing journey and understanding astrology and human design and all of those things. It had been kind of an interest, but not something that I deeply studied. But I was like, okay, this is so cool. This is so fun. So I am a Reiki master. I got certified to do breath work, and I'm actually can do astrology readings. I don't, but studied it deeply enough that I could do that. And throughout all of that, like started working with clients around like anxiety and stress and still helping people who are in this special education space because, the caregivers need care as well. So within the last year, it's really been on my mind to bring this book back into being because it was like 85% done. But it felt like a side quest. It felt like, okay, but I'm doing all this, like I'm leading breath work classes at yoga studios and doing all these things. But what I've realized is that those nervous system tools that I have now are absolutely foundational to being a better advocate for my children and matter more than the negotiation, communication, and leadership skills.
Mhm.
Because walking into any sort of a meeting, whether it's with the school district or your boss or whatever, if you're centered, if you're unfuckwithable, then you are so much more effective and can truly achieve more if you are grounded, if you are centered, and if you've taken a little bit of time for, care for yourself. So I am refocusing my business and my work to really support parents and teach them how to be better advocates, and weaving in the energy work and the self-care work that I have, that it was really just a detour to come back to the path that I needed to, but it was like a necessary, information that I needed to bring in and assimilate. And so yeah, I'm intending to self-publish that book later this year, and am deep in rewriting mode, and I'm really excited about the lives that I hope to impact in helping parents advocate for their kids, because it is not an easy task. So
That is beautiful. No, that is such a beautiful story. I want to say thank you for all of that you shared and that you've done, that I'm sure that will really help hundreds, thousands of people down the line if you think about it, and especially a book.
yeah. Yeah, I hope so. And honestly, sitting with it, if I can help just one other family get their child the support that they needed, and one other mama to feel just more grounded and confident and capable, then it's all been worth it. Then it's all been worth it, because what is it? The butterfly effect has been trending on social media, right? Like knows what the effect of helping one child unlock their greatest potential is. And I can think of no better calling. I know that these tools have made a difference in who I am for myself, who I am with my partner, who I am as a parent. It's not a parenting book, right? Like, I don't teach parenting, like how to interact with your child. But if you are more grounded and more in alignment with who you are a better parent, and just a better person in the world. And so,
Yeah, totally agree.
yeah, I'm excited
Totally
to
agree.
continue synthesizing all of that. And and throughout all of it, just like we talked about earlier with like your permission slip to make things simple, especially when we approach self-care as mothers, right? It's like, oh, I don't have time for self-care. But if we can make it so simple, yes, you do.
Oh my gosh,
Right?
yeah. I'm
Like,
like, shut up. Yes, you do. It's
honestly, so I actually have a meditation course that's called Meditation in Moments, because meditation has to work in the moment that you need it, right? Standing in the Target parking lot, like the first tool or technique that I teach, I call it a stoplight meditation, because you can do it at a stoplight, and it's just 2 deep breaths.
simple as that.
It's as simple as that. And people are like, 2 deep breaths, like, what does that do? But I want to invite actually you and your podcast listeners to do it with me here. Like, can we just do
Okay,
it
let's do
together?
it now. Yeah.
Okay.
Because
So we're
you're
going to go
listening to this, you can take a minute.
exactly in through and literally you can do this. I don't care if you're in a room full of people. I don't care if, and I don't care where you are. You can do this, and it doesn't have to be obvious. So we're going to go in through the nose and out through the mouth. We want the exhale to be just a little bit longer than the inhale. Okay, let's do it. In through the nose, out through the mouth. One more, out through the mouth. Imagine if you did that every time you were stopped at a red light or a stop sign. If you are, imagine how that 1/2 degree shift in your nervous system done over the course of a day, a week, a month, just that, I felt my system settle. I saw your shoulders dropped,
I know. I
right?
was like,
Like you felt more present, you felt more embodied. I could see it in your face. I tell people, okay, you're not driving kids around. Every time you sit down to pee, instead of opening up Instagram, if every
oh my
time you
gosh,
peed,
yeah.
if every time you peed, instead of taking your phone in with you, or even if you do take your phone in with you, what if every time you grabbed your phone, you just took 2 deep breaths first?
That's exactly what I was thinking because I feel like every time I look around out in public, if there's a moment, waiting in a line or you're pausing somewhere or something, everyone's just quick to grab their phone. And that definitely is like I need this. Ah.
I do it too. I do it too. I
Oh
love
yeah.
Instagram. I love Instagram. Like I love, like seeing what people are up to. I love Instagram stories. I get it. But especially as a manifester with the open centers that I have, I do have to do some shielding before I go online, especially right now. Like I have to do some energetic shielding before I go online. So, as we're talking about self-care and thinking about, maybe a mama who is really in the thick of things with a special needs situation, that it's even more critical to take those micro moments, whether it's while you're brewing your tea or your coffee, even if it's a Keurig, right? Like whatever it is,
Yeah.
you've got 60 seconds there that if you just took that time to put your hand on your heart and take a couple deep breaths, you would be so much more centered. And it really does make a large difference. And it's just as simple can be to take 2 deep breaths. And that tool is always in your back pocket.
I love that. Thank you so much for sharing that because I feel like I hear it before, but then you just, the stoplight. That's like, I feel like you can really remember that and connect it there. It's, and multiple signs, I have one stoplight in my town, so I might have to do stop signs.
You might have to do stop signs, but it's fast enough that like if you really like instead of just like tapped on your brake, like if you actually like stopped,
Did a full blown stop, yeah.
if you actually stopped all the way, you could do that. And that's why I also say, okay, you're trapped, in your house, trapped, I'm saying, but if you've got toddlers and it's hard to get out or whatever, like your body literally will force you go pee. If just
Yeah.
every time you sat down on the toilet and you took 2 deep breaths, I guarantee you it would start to make a difference in your nervous system. And actually that's one of the best ways to incorporate any sort of a new habit is to what they call habit stacking. So attach it to an existing habit that you have. So if you are religious about your workouts and every morning without fail you walk the dog or whatever, like what is something that you do every single day? When we were all walking during the pandemic, I just had a short playlist that I would play the first thing as I got out onto my walk, and I used that as my meditation time. And it was 2 or 3 songs, and then I went on and listened to my audiobook or my podcast or
Mm-hmm.
Beyonce or whatever it was that I was listening to. But I had those first 10-15 minutes I used as a moving meditation, as time for me to reconnect with myself and with nature. And so finding those things in your life that you do every day and seeing how can I make that more mindful? How can I bring an element of ritual of what is it, like romanticizing your life? But like,
Girl, I've been talking about that all the time.
right, but so how can you make
Yes.
it juicy? How can you make this something? And I don't care if it's like, okay, you're going through the drive-through to get your iced coffee. Just use that time to reconnect with yourself. And because I think the biggest thing that I have learned over the last couple of years, we lost my dad during the pandemic not to COVID, but to early onset Alzheimer's. And in trying to care for both of my parents, and especially my dad with this really advanced disease and my own children, I'm fully in this sandwich generation, right? Of like, I'm squished in the middle. And I had a dear friend say to me something that has really, really resonated and guided a lot of my work over the last couple of years. And it's that no matter what you do, you cannot actually make somebody else healthier. But caring for them can make you more unhealthy.
Yeah.
And so, especially with aging parents, like, and obviously we need to take our loved ones to the doctor and do those things, but there's such a trap of taking on so much responsibility for others and really giving no care to ourselves that we get so unbalanced. And I was really in a season of feeling that. And so I just want to say that, self-care isn't selfish, it's survival. And it's actually like you have to do these things because we deserve to use our energy first.
Especially a non-sacral being.
Right. I have a limited and unpredictable amount of energy. And I I deserve to use my energy first and then care for others. But if I don't care for myself, it all comes tumbling down like a house of cards, right? Like if I go down, then who is caring for the other people? One, who's caring for the other people who need to be cared for? And then who's caring for me?
Yeah.
So you have to be on your list. And we have to really decondition from this as mothers, we have to be martyrs, and that our job is to pour everything into our children and not take time and our own energy for ourselves first. And I just reject that categorically. One, it makes us angry and makes us resent our loved ones that we're caring for. And it also doesn't, especially with our children, it doesn't teach them to care for themselves either. Right? They learn from what we're doing for ourselves.
Yeah. Well, and it gets like my wheels are turning in my head. I'm like, where the hell did that narrative come from?
I'll tell you.
Like, tell me.
Oh, it's patriarchy. Because
well, okay, that's what I was like in my head. That's kind of what I'm like. Well, society, obviously, and
because if we're so busy caring for other people, then and if we're being told that it's selfish to care for ourselves, then we're always tired and burnt out and dependent on others for resources
and, not in our magic.
Exactly. And then we aren't connected to, like you said, our magic, our wisdom, our intuition, because there's no energy, right? The flame is out, right? The candle is burnt, both ends met in the middle, done. And it really keeps us in survival mode. And then we can't push back on all the things. So
yeah, that's a conversation for another day. But
right.
But that's a whole can of worms. But it's so true.
Agreed. But especially in in the space of being mothers, and even if you're not, as women, we are. I have two sons, and I have a niece who is not even like 8 months old. And I was talking to my mom. I'm the primary caregiver for my mom. I wasn't with my mom this day, but I went in to get my mammogram. And there was this older woman who was in there who was trying to like change her clothes, and she had a walker and, carry her clothes. My mom uses a walker. And so I know that like I saw her go into the changing room, and I was like, okay, she's going to need some help, because her son had brought her. And of course, there's no men allowed back in the space where they do all the mammograms. And so I saw her kind of like pull her curtain back, and she was struggling. And I was like, hey, can I help you? Can I just put those into the locker for you and all that kind of stuff? And so just, helped her out. Because again, I saw my mother and would want someone to help my mom if she was in that situation and struggling without me. So fast forward, I was telling my mom about it, and she was like, well, you'll have to teach your niece how to be so thoughtful and, how to care for others. And I just looked at her and I said, why is it not my son's responsibility to care for others? Right. So, this generational conditioning of the girls are the ones that are going to take care of the previous generations. And I was like, screw that. We're all humans. Right? Like in that situation, obviously it was a women's space. So, but she was like, just categorically like skipped over my 17-year-old and 14-year-old sons and went straight to the 6-month-old and was like, well, you'll have to teach her how to care for people. And I'm like, or start with these idiots in my house, right? Like, so all that to say, like, I think we all benefit from knowing how to take care of ourselves, but especially as women, breaking that expectation that the world has for us is so important.
Yeah, and the biggest thing is your children are watching you and they're
Yes.
learning from you. They're, do you want them to have a mom who's, dysregulated, stressed out, not in alignment at all? And like, do you want them to continue those patterns or do you want to break that shit off and be done, be done with what our parents were dealing with and try something
Yeah,
new?
absolutely. Well, and as manifestors, right, we're here to bring something new to the table and to initiate new ways of doing things. So
That
I
is the
feel that
perfect
deeply.
segue to talk about that more.
Yeah, absolutely.
Tell me, okay, I'm probably going to find this the most interesting out of anyone listening, but like, tell me, I want to know when you found out you were a manifester. Like, when did human design, that piece come into your life? And when you found out, and were you like, holy shit, it makes sense?
Yeah, very much so. So let me back up just a step. So I first started really leaning into who I divinely came here to be in this life through astrology. And I was actually born 6 weeks premature. And so I had always said that I didn't identify with my sun sign, with Cancer, right? And this was the age of the horoscopes in the back of Cosmo. And I
Yeah.
was like, the like that the descriptions of being a Cancer didn't resonate with me as much as being a Virgo, which is when I should have been born.
Yeah.
And so I happened to have connected with this woman who was taking her own side quest from being a food blogger, which is why I started following her, and was starting to learn about astrology and was going through like an apprenticeship program where she needed to give some readings and was offering them at
Mm-hmm.
her like $50 for an hour-long reading. And I was like, done, right? I
Yeah.
was curious, like I was curious because she had started, excuse me, talking about it. Well, and what actually got me to sign up for that first reading was I just happened to make a comment on one of her Instagram posts about how, well, I was born under the sign of Cancer, but I should have been born under Virgo. And so I've always identified as a Virgo. And she said, no, the universe makes no mistakes. You were born exactly when you were supposed to be born. And so maybe you just don't understand, like truly, enough about what Cancer, like, what that energy really is
Yeah.
and yada yada. But that comment of the universe makes no mistakes, you were born exactly when you were supposed to be born, like really hit me between the eyes. And
Mm-hmm.
now I know that like my North Node and Saturn are in Virgo. So of course I have a lot of
Okay,
Virgo
that makes sense.
energy,
Yeah.
right? Like,
Yeah.
yeah. So I have strong placements in Virgo, which at the time made more sense to me than the maternal instincts and those Cancerian themes of feeling all the emotions and all those types of things. So that really started me down the path of learning more about astrology and about all of these different things that are in your natal chart and that play into um that
Sorry, my
play
dog is like,
it,
hear him.
yeah,
Sorry.
sounds like my dog when she's having like a really good dream.
That's what he's doing.
Yeah, totally. So anyways, so that really got me started in, kind of living my chart and understanding why I am the way that I am and those light bulbs starting to go off of that's how I am. But I didn't really find human design. I'm gonna say it was maybe 4 years ago. And so probably during the pandemic and when it
Yeah.
was really starting to get popular and like you were hearing other people starting to talk about it, especially in kind of the more witchy woo spaces and where I like to be.
Where I like to hang out.
Yeah, totally. They're good people on that corner of the internet.
Oh my gosh.
And so I again somebody was like, hey, I'm doing readings for cheap. I just need practice. And I was like, cool. Like, I love being a guinea pig. And I think it's because I have
Mhm.
such a passion for learning that I'm like, oh, everybody's got to learn somewhere. Everybody's got to practice. Like, I'm happy
Yeah.
to help you out. So I got my first reading and learned that I was a manifestor. And it wasn't, I wouldn't say that it was like a spectacular reading, but it like started to make sense. And it was enough that it got me intrigued into like, okay, but what does that mean? Like, okay, you've piqued my interest. And so started reading and following some people, and it really started to make sense to me about 2 years ago. I found Holly, shoot, what's her last name?
Hebring.
Herbig?
Hey,
Yes.
yeah, the
Yeah.
Manifestor community. Yeah.
Yes. So I found the Manifestor community on Instagram and starting to understand that. And then she came out with her book, and like I bought it on Kindle, and I was immediately like, no, I need this. You can see behind me, like it's like right
Yeah.
there. It's right there.
There it is. It's
So like,
purple. I've got it
mhm.
somewhere too.
Yep. I was like, I need it. I need to write in this. I need to
Yep.
highlight this. So I bought the book twice, and like just understanding, just really leaning into, well, that's why all this business advice didn't work for me. Like,
Oh my gosh, yes.
that's why this system didn't work for me, because I'd done like I said, give me all the courses, give me all the information. So I've done
Hmm.
multiple of these like business, like how to have an online business, how to do all that kind of stuff. And none of it works for me. Like none of it resonated, because it's all like consistency, create one product and launch it 4 times a year, and like do the same workout every single day, and or work out every single day even if you're doing something different. Girl, I don't
Hmm.
have that energy. Like I can't. And so it was unwinding a lifetime of shame around not being able to stick with a program, and whether was a workout program or whatever, right? I could not string together 8 weeks of working out 4 times a week.
Yeah.
Could not do it, and so feeling like a failure each of those times um is really hard. And so learning to really trust my manifestor urges, that these creative, wild ideas that I get, that they're for me and for me to bring into the world, and then not feeling bad about handing them off, and knowing that this isn't what I'm going to be doing for the next 10 years. Like, I feel like I've had 4 different careers, and that makes so much sense now because I go deep. And then once I go
Hmm.
deep and I understand it, then I'm done with it. And I'm off to the next thing. And understanding my design has really given me permission to rest and to be unapologetic about, like, we used to call it that I would go to bed toddler early, where like I'd crawl in bed by 8:30, 9 o'clock. And now we just call it Rebbe early, like within the family, because I just know that I just need that rest.
Yeah.
And so my husband will stay up until 2 o'clock in the morning, gets up at 6:30 with the rest of us, and he can survive on that, and he can do it. He's a generator. And even within our relationship, understanding our dynamic changed our marriage. And he knows nothing about human design. He's a very, very, I call him the spreadsheet to my woo. He is a very logical, very rational human being who has not had to ever, he's never encountered a situation yet that required strength from outside of himself, if that makes sense. I think a lot of us hit a point where we have to, I don't know, tap into the divine, the universe,
Hmm.
whatever, spirit, to get through whatever our dark night of the soul is. And he just hasn't hit his yet.
Yeah.
So he's this very rational creature. And and of course married me, the wateriest, most emotional creature ever. And so, and we've been married 23 years. And so understanding my design and his design has really changed some frustrations that we had, where I'm like, why do I always have to be the one to plan things? Why am I the one that's always like, hey, we should do date night, or hey, we should go out, or hey, we should have friends over? Well, I'm the initiator. Like, that's just my design.
Yeah, that was a
And
big thing with me too.
right? I'm like, why do I have to be the one? Like, don't you want to do this? Don't you think about like going out to dinner with me? Like, don't like, and realizing like that's not his design, right? Like, especially in our dynamic, that's
Hmm.
not the role that our energies play. And so understanding that, and just like, and there, don't get me wrong, there are times where I'm still like, would you just plan something, please? Like, so I tend to ask for that, like for my birthdays, where I'm like, okay, I want you to plan a date, you to
You're
figure it out.
informing him of what you want. There you
Yeah.
go.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm still initiating it, and giving him that spark, but understanding that, and then in our energy dynamics, I realized that I was using his energy. I was borrowing from his energy because he has this consistent source of energy. So what would happen is, on the days that his energy was off, whether he was sick or grumpy or whatever, because he's also an emotional authority. All four of us are emotional authorities. So fun. So, when he's off, it would throw my energy off, because all of a sudden the quality of energy that I was borrowing from him wasn't there. And so understanding this unconscious dynamic that was happening, where, my sacral is totally open and just like siphoning energy, from his, then I felt unsteady when I didn't have, this energy that I had been borrowing to get through and to act more like a generator than I should. And so as I put better energy hygiene and energy boundaries between us, then his mood doesn't throw the mood of the whole house off, right? I'm able to
Yeah.
maintain my foundation and be steady in the face of his unsteadiness. So yeah, leaning into my design has really helped, and has allowed me to do some really deep generational work that I've
Oh my gosh.
been doing. And it's yeah, it's just woven into how I live now. I love knowing other people's designs. It's interesting doing Reiki and breath work for people, and coaching like I do. There are times where I'm like, I bet I know at least what your authority is, or whatever. And I think everybody who studies this deeply, whether you're an astrologer or a human design reader, can kind of is like, that's a very X characteristic.
Yeah.
I wonder where, how that shows up in somebody's
Yeah, it's
chart.
like, yeah, you're definitely a generator. You're definitely a Scorpio. I can tell. Or you've got something in there.
Uh-huh, for sure.
I love that. Yeah, I am actually a splenic inner authority, which I'm still working on trusting it fully, I think.
Because so splenic is like that
Like intuition, just
immediate,
like right
yes,
away.
no. Yeah, like
Yeah,
immediate,
like
like yes, no.
whatever comes up first. And then when it's illogical is probably when I'm supposed to do it. And that can be
Yeah.
hard.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And for me, it's with my emotional authority, like a new idea comes in and I am so excited about it, because again, I love new ideas, and understanding when it's just an idea versus like a
Yeah.
channeled creative urge, right?
Mm-hmm.
And for me, I'm like, yes, let's. And because I'm that manifester, I want to jump right in, and like I'm already 10 steps into planning this. And then in 2 days, I'm like, oh my God, this was the worst idea. Or,
Yeah.
and the danger is to commit myself to it too soon, and not ride that wave.
Yeah. Wait for clarity.
Yeah. Yeah. And then, and I've always been that way. Even before knowing my design, it was like, okay, my emotions will be out of whack. I'll, be whatever. And it's like, okay, I just need to sleep on this,
Mm-hmm.
knowing that, okay, one, I don't make good choices if I'm not well rested. And two, I just need that time to step away and settle before I can approach something with a clear head. So knowing your design, especially your authority, I think is foundational to everything. I've started telling my kids, especially as them being manifestors. My oldest, he's going to be a senior in high school, and he is like, I don't want to go to 4-year college. And especially the high school that my children go to, we live in a very affluent part of St. Louis. And so
Mm-hmm.
like people are like, I'm going to Utah State, I'm going to South Carolina, I'm going, like everyone from my high school, we all went to state school. Like, it was
Yeah.
like there were very, very, very few people who were like, I'm going to, I don't know, Harvard or whatever. But
Yeah.
like right, like even if it's not Harvard, like going to the University of California or wherever. But like again, so much privilege and so many resources. And so in my friend group, the conversation is, where are they going and what scholarships have they gotten, because it's really pushed, right, the academics and
Mm-hmm.
the sports and all that kind of stuff. And so my son is thinking about trade school.
Hell yeah.
Um, and and you know what? And I love that for him, but I had to kind of go through that process of going, he's a manifestor too. And he
Mm-hmm.
is here to do things in a totally a different way from me, a different way from society, and just working to trust his little North Star to lead him in the right next thing, and reminding myself and reminding him, teaching him, buddy, you're not going to be doing this forever. Guaranteed. If there's one thing I can guarantee you, you are not going to be doing whatever it is that you go to school for forever. So what do you want to do for
Yeah.
the next 5 years? What do you want to do? Okay, you want to go swing a hammer, or like he really wants to like drive a forklift, or not a forklift, like a crane, or like a bulldozer or whatever. I mean, what
Yeah.
17-year-old boy doesn't want to, do
True.
that kind of stuff? But I'm like, okay, go do that. And trusting that while it may look like a side quest, just like in my own life, it's actually foundational, and it's actually a building block for whatever amazing life path his soul has already charted out.
Yeah.
And and trusting that he's not here to walk inside society's norms. And so that has given me a lot of comfort as a parent, just to know that, okay, I've got to allow him to live his design. And how beautiful that he and I have the knowledge and the information, and I can share that information with him at 17, so that he
Mm-hmm.
can understand, like, he's tired. He needs more rest, and that he's going to have better energetic, hygiene than perhaps his friends. And of course, he's a teenager. He wants to stay up way too late and scroll his phone, way too long. But, as much as I can encourage him to incorporate the things that will help him in the long run. So I firmly believe in knowing our children's designs, and not coming at it from a preachy perspective,
Yeah.
or shoving it down his throat, but just like, hey, bud, if you're feeling this way, that makes sense for you. And it might
Mm-hmm.
not look like how your friends react to things or whatever, but that's okay.
I totally agree with you there. And I think it makes me just like dream of a world where everyone knows like everyone's design in their family. And as a parent, like, and I'm sure you feel this way too. Like, can you imagine knowing this information when you were 17?
No,
Or,
like,
right.
yeah, like, yeah, it would have, like I said, the shame and the struggle and feeling like a failure because I couldn't do something the way that the world, like a program was set up to do, or whatever, especially around the fitness world, and needing energy. It's just, yeah, it certainly would have changed things, but also we learn the most in those tough times,
Oh, I agree. I think
right?
my soul definitely chose, this path for a reason, and things, unfolded in the way that they were supposed to because I learned so much. I mean, if I would have known that information at that age, I would have been on a totally different trajectory, I think.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, but
That's for the
no,
next,
knowing it, yeah,
yeah.
next
But
generation.
that's for the next lifetime. That's that
Well, yeah,
when you
that too.
come, yeah.
I'm just gonna know everything next lifetime, and I'm
Oh
gonna
man.
just kidding.
Yeah, we'll see.
No,
We'll
we've got to
see.
learn. We've got challenges. It's all good.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. Absolutely.
But I agree. If there's one thing, yeah, look up your kids' human design charts. And if you have no freaking idea, talk to someone that can help with that.
Yeah.
I can do that. Like other people, other people and other people too. Just simply, you don't need to know everything. Just, I mean, knowing the type and like you said, inner authority, I also agree is very important. And, then you can dig into the weeds on the other stuff if you want. But I mean, when your kids are little, it's like knowing their profile is kind of nice sometimes. But otherwise, you don't have to get too crazy with it. But it makes you're like, okay, this is how their brain is wired. This is how their energy works best.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. So I think knowing your knowing your kids' charts, like why wouldn't I want to know everything about my kids? Not so that I can pigeonhole them, but like you said, so
Yeah.
that you can support them and kind of watch to see how it all unfolds in their own unique way.
Yeah. Yeah, I totally agree. And you don't have to, yeah, don't have to shove it down your throats. And if they're not wanting to know or they're not into it, just let it be. Maybe
Yeah.
that's their path, and down the road they'll be like, oh shit, mom makes sense.
Right, right. And especially like with my oldest, I'm just like, hey, like I just want you to know like XYZ. If you've got more questions or if you want to learn more, just let me know, right? Because I'm the same way. And so, but we're different from dad, and that as he gives you advice, just know that his energy works differently than yours and it may not work for you. So not that we're trying to go around him, right, and his advice, but we've got to run it through a filter
Yeah.
and go, okay, dad works like what, 60-70% of the rest of the population, roughly. So he's going to give you advice that works when he gives this advice to other people 60-70% of the time. But we've kind of got to make our own path. So far he hasn't, like, we've had some interesting conversations, but he hasn't come back and been like, Mom, tell me more. It just kind of comes up. He's 17, so I don't get a lot of words besides single syllable grunts these days anyways.
Makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah,
Oh my
absolutely.
gosh.
Absolutely.
I can't believe it's like already been an hour.
I know. I know.
Like time flies. Thank
Yeah,
you for such a
absolutely.
beautiful conversation. And I would love for you to share like any way somebody can work with you, where to find you. I'm going to leave your information in the show notes, of course, so
Perfect.
they can click
Yeah.
on it. But yeah, explain whatever you want to right now.
Yeah, absolutely. So I do have, like I said, a meditation and moments course. It's totally self-paced and, available through my website. So if people are just wanting to get started with really practical meditation tools, that's a really beautiful place to start. I have some other offerings. I have like a breathwork library. So if you're really into breathwork, that is available. And then I do parent advocacy coaching. So working with parents who are trying to become better advocates for their kids. That right now isn't necessarily a program. It's just fully customized to whoever, comes in and what stage they're in. I have the beginning urges of an actual program, but that hasn't, I'm focusing mostly on the book. And then if you sign up for my email, there's going to be some freebies coming out around special education and some meditations specifically for that community. So if any of your listeners are walking that special education, special needs path, I would love to support them with some of these free meditations that'll be coming out closer to when the school year starts. So, and then with my email, I generally email like maybe once, maybe twice a month. So I truly try to really respect that space in your inbox and promise not to spam, not to spam people.
Yeah.
As the book comes closer, there'll be, the emails will be a little bit more frequent, but I don't like feeling like I'm hunted in my inbox. So
Oh my gosh, yeah.
I
Unsubscribe.
try. My gosh, I'm an aggressive unsubscriber. So
Yeah.
I do try to walk that line of keeping people informed, but
Mm-hmm.
not
Too
sending too
much.
many emails. Yeah. So there'll be some really great freebies coming. I do also have my podcast where there are some free breathworks and meditation sessions there talking about all sorts of things, witchy and woo. It's called From Root to Crown with Rebbe.
Yeah.
So yeah. And then I'm at Rebe Goebel kind of all the places. So from Instagram
Perfect.
and TikTok. And then my website is just rebegoebel.com.
So I'm going to leave all of that in the show notes. And yeah, follow along so that we can see when your book comes out, because that will be very exciting. Very,
Yeah,
very
yeah.
exciting.
Yeah, it's the title of it is Lanterns on the Dark Path. And so my goal has always been, as I have figured things out, I just want to leave lanterns lit behind me so that people have a better view. Like I feel like I'm that kind of person that if it doesn't exist, if I look around for something that would help me and it doesn't exist, I'm jump in and we'll create it. And
Very
so as
Manifestor of you.
And so then as I figure it out though, I like want to leave lanterns, behind me.
Yeah,
And so
that's
that
beautiful.
people don't have to figure it out on their own because I've done the work. And so I want everybody to benefit from that. So don't have a definite date, but I'm committed to getting this sucker out in the world.
You
Probably
sh
late this year.
I was gonna say you shouldn't have a definite date. It'll be birthed when it needs to be.
It'll happen.
Yeah, it'll all work out.
Like I said, deep in the rewriting to include all
Yeah.
the nervous system navigation tools that I have now.
I love that. Well, thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you for
And
having me.
yes, I am so, so grateful for this podcast and this beautiful guest we had on today. And thank you guys for listening.